35 years ago, a simple chance meeting on the streets of Los Angeles changed everything. A man searching for direction and a woman searching for something more found each other in a way no one expected. Their story became a symbol of hope, of love, of magic, and now the curtain rises once again. In 1990, the world fell in love with a story that was never meant to happen. The music grows warmer and flashes of scenes appear. A limo door opening. A young woman in a red dress, her smile lighting up the night. A businessman in a sharp suit, caught between power and vulnerability. Quick cuts of laughter, dancing, and a rooftop kiss under the stars. The faceless narrator's voice enters, calm but emotional. It was more than a romance. It was a fairy tale on the streets of Hollywood. A story of two people who were never supposed to meet, yet couldn't walk away. The screen shows the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, its lights glowing against the night. Then, the famous moment, Vivian leaning out of the window, Edward holding flowers, the fire escape climbing scene. But instead of playing the whole moment, the trailer freezes just as their hands almost touch. The picture fades into sepia, reminding us of a memory frozen in time. The narrator continues. For decades we remembered their laughter, their tears, and the love that conquered it all. But every story leaves one question behind. What happens after the fairy tale? The music shifts. A deeper, slower beat comes in. Images of Los Angeles streets, today busy traffic, neon lights, high-rise buildings towering where old shops once stood. The contrast is sharp. Hollywood Boulevard looks louder, colder, and harsher than before. The camera pans across the Walk of Fame, but the focus isn't on the stars, it's on the footsteps passing by. Elegant shoes, polished leather, rushing heels. A reminder that time never stops, the narrator whispers, 35 years later. The world has changed. But can love, once found, survive the test of time? The trailer cuts quickly back to Richard Gere and Julia Roberts in 1990 laughing in the opera, holding hands in the park. Then, silence. A black screen. A single heartbeat echoes on screen. White letters fade in. Pretty Woman 2, the piano returns, this time stronger, more emotional. The scene shifts to a dimly lit mansion hallway. A man's silhouette stands by the window, staring at the city below. His face is hidden in shadow. His hand rests on the glass, as if reaching for something that isn't there anymore. The narrator's final words in this section. They had their happy ending. But endings are only the beginning. The screen fades to black. Music pauses. A whisper of applause, like a memory of the opera, drifts faintly before the next section begins. Asterisk, the screen opens with the faint sound of waves crashing against the shore. A sunrise creeps across the horizon, painting the sky with gold and pink. The camera drifts through the soft light until a figure comes into view, a man standing alone on a balcony. He is older now, his back straight but his posture heavy. The city of Los Angeles spreads out behind him, restless, alive. The narrator's voice enters, calm but layered with emotion. Edward Lewis was once a man defined by numbers, deals, and power. He had built empires with the stroke of a pen. But after all the success, all the wealth, there was still one truth he couldn't escape. That love had changed him forever. The screen cuts to images of Edward in the present. Silver hair, a sharp suit still hanging in his closet, but his expression softer than before. He walks through the halls of a quiet home, the sound of footsteps echoing against polished marble floors. The house is large, beautiful, yet empty. He stops by a framed photo on a desk. Vivian, younger, her smile still radiant. He touches the frame gently as though it were fragile. The music deepens, shifting to a slower rhythm. The narrator continues. He left behind the corporate world, stepping away from the ruthless race of Wall Street. No more late-night negotiations, no more boardrooms filled with smoke and silence. Instead, he searched for something real, something lasting. But even a man who walked away from power cannot escape the loneliness of silence. The screen fades to a bustling city street. Neon lights flicker across the camera. The crowd moves fast, people brushing past one another without stopping. In the middle of the noise, a woman appears. Her hair shines under the streetlights, her steps confident, her laughter soft yet powerful. This is Vivian. But she is not the same woman we knew in 1990. She is older, wiser, and stronger. The camera does not show her full face, just glimpses, her eyes in a rearview mirror, her smile caught in a reflection. Her hand reaching for a microphone as she stands on a stage, the narrator's voice grows brighter. Vivian Ward was once a dreamer, a woman whose life changed with the kindness of one man. But she did not stop at being someone's fairy tale. She took her second chance and built it into something greater. A career that inspired. A voice that could not be silenced. From the streets of Hollywood to the lights of the world, Vivian found her purpose not just in love, but in herself. Images flash across the screen, Vivian standing before a group of young women, guiding them, encouraging them, showing them a path she once had to carve for herself. Vivian in elegant gowns at charity events, walking red carpets not as someone being rescued but as someone who belongs. Her life has become bigger, more powerful, but then the tone shifts. The camera cuts to moments of distance, Edward watching from the balcony, Vivian surrounded by crowds. His world is quiet, hers is loud. His silence collides with her spotlight, the narrator lowers his voice. But success comes with a price. For Edward, it was solitude. For Vivian, it was distance. And sometimes, even the strongest love can be lost in the space between two hearts. A quick montage plays, Edward sitting at a piano, playing a soft melody in an empty room. Vivian stepping into a limousine, cameras flashing, her smile fading the moment the door closes. A phone ringing in Edward's study, unanswered. Vivian staring at her reflection in a mirror. The weight of her choices heavy in her eyes. The music swells, strings pulling at the emotion. The narrator pauses, then whispers, "They were once each other's world. But now their worlds are miles apart." The trailer cuts to black. Silence fills the screen. Then a single line of text appears. What happens when love must fight not only time, but destiny? The silence breaks with a heartbeat echoing louder, pulling us toward the next chapter. Asterisk, the music shifts, no longer soft piano, but a slow, pulsing rhythm like a heartbeat under pressure. The camera opens on the city skyline at night. Storm clouds move in, lightning flashes in the distance, and the streets glisten with rain. The narrator's voice, deeper and more urgent now. Time can bring people together, but it can also tear them apart. Edward and Vivian's love was once a fairy tale. Now it is being tested by the reality of life. A quick montage begins. Edward sitting alone in a study, the glow of a lamp highlighting his face in half shadow. Papers are scattered across the desk, old financial reports he had promised to leave behind. His hand clenches into a fist as though battling himself. Cut to Vivian standing backstage before walking onto a stage. Applause echoes in the background, but her expression is heavy, almost uncertain. The spotlight waits for her, yet her eyes search for something, someone not there. The narrator continues. Edward struggles with a past he thought he left behind. The weight of business, the ghosts of old rivals, the whispers of a man who once had it all, and is afraid of losing what truly matters. The music sharpens. The screen shows flashes. Edward in tense conversations, his voice raised, his composure breaking. His reflection in the mirror reveals not confidence, but fear. Vivian has built a new world, but the higher she rises, the further away she feels. Fame, responsibility, the endless noise of flashing lights. It all threatens to drown the quiet love she once found in Edward's arms. Images appear quickly, like sparks, a red carpet event, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. Vivian turning her head, hiding a frown behind her smile. Edward watching the same event on television, his eyes full of distance. Vivian's phone buzzing in her hand. Unanswered messages piling up. The music grows faster, violins screeching as the tension rises. The narrator whispers, "And when silence grows too loud." Shadows begin to take their place. A new figure enters the trailer, a man, younger, sharp-dressed, standing beside Vivian at an event. His face is never shown, only the outline of his hand resting a little too close to hers, his laugh echoing a little too long. The screen cuts to Edward's reaction, his jaw tightens. His eyes filled with doubt. Cut to another scene. Vivian sits across from Edward at a dinner table. The candles flicker between them, but the space feels cold. Her words cannot be heard, but her face says enough pain, frustration, longing. Edward leans back, defeated, as if every word cuts deeper than the last. The music crescendos, heavy drums pounding. The screen shows Edward leaving the dinner table, his coat swinging over his shoulder. Vivian watching him go, her hand trembling as it grips her glass. A limo door slamming shut. Edward walking through the rain, his reflection shattered in puddles. The narrator's voice returns, firm and haunting. Love once saved them, but now it may be the very thing that destroys them. Images flash faster and faster. Edward standing in a boardroom again, facing old enemies he swore he'd never see. Vivian arguing with someone behind closed doors, her voice breaking. A headline flashing on the screen. Vivian Ward alone at the top. Edward's hand gripping a glass too tightly, shattering it in his palm. Vivian on stage, her eyes filled with tears, hiding them beneath a smile for the crowd. The music suddenly cuts silence. The screen turns black. Then one sound, the faint whisper of Vivian's voice breaking through. Edward, we can't go back, can we? A pause, the silence stretches. Then Edward's voice, heavy with regret, answers, I don't know if we were ever meant to. The trailer fades to black. A single line of text appears, glowing in silver. Love is easy when it begins. But can it survive when the world stands against it? The silence holds. Then the drums return, harder, louder, pulling the trailer toward its climax. Asterisk, the silence lingers. Then suddenly a burst of strings, sharp and electric, cuts through the black screen. The music begins to rise, faster and heavier, like a storm that cannot be stopped. The screen flashes. Edward running down a rain-soaked street, his footsteps splashing water into the night. His breath is heavy, his suit jacket clings to him, and his eyes are filled with desperation. Cut. Vivian stands in front of a grand stage, her gown shimmering under the lights, but her face pale, her hands trembling. Behind her, thousands of people cheer. In front of her, a single spotlight isolates her, bright, blinding, suffocating. The narrator's voice strikes with urgency. Two souls who once defied the odds now face the greatest challenge of all. Each other. The music swells, pounding drums and rising violins. The screen shows a flurry of images, each one faster than the last. A limo speeding through the city. A door slamming. Vivian tearing away from a camera crew, rushing into the shadows. Edward shouting in an empty room, his voice echoing with anger and heartbreak. Hands reaching across a table, hers trembling, his refusing to close the distance. Then silence. The screen slows to black and white. Edward stands in an elevator, doors closing in front of him. Vivian stands alone by a window, the city lights behind her like 1,000 broken stars. The narrator whispers, Sometimes, love is not about how you meet. It is about how far you are willing to go to hold on. The music explodes again. The trailer erupts with fast cuts, each one sharper than the last. Edward driving recklessly through the night, his eyes burning with regret. Vivian running through a crowded street, her heels clattering against the pavement. A bouquet of roses dropping to the ground, petals scattering in the rain. A phone call unanswered, the screen reading Vivian calling, Edward slamming his hand against glass, unable to break through. The tension builds until the screen cuts to black once more. Then a single violin note holds, high and aching. A voice breaks the silence. Vivian's voice, soft, raw, almost pleading. Tell me it wasn't just a dream, Edward. The pause feels endless. Then Edward's voice replies, rough and tired but filled with truth. No. It was the only real thing I ever had. The screen bursts alive with the final montage. Edward sprinting through an opera house balcony. Vivian turning, her eyes wide with shock. A spotlight cutting through the dark, bathing her in light. Edward reaching for her hand, the distance closing in slow motion. The two of them standing inches apart, the world blurring around them. The music crescendos into a thunderous peak, then stops. A single piano note plays slow, gentle, familiar on screen. White letters fade in against the black. Pretty Woman 2, 2025. The piano continues. Echoing the original melody we remember, the narrator delivers the final words. Calm and haunting, love brought them together once. But destiny will test them again. The screen fades into silence. For a moment, nothing. Then, as if whispered directly into the audience's ear, Vivian's final line cuts through. Edward! I'm still just a girl standing here asking you to love me. The audience is left breathless. The screen cuts to black. Bold letters appear. Coming soon, the trailer ends.